Cummings, Chief Steward with United Electrical Workers, Local 1122. Peter is a grad student at Northwestern.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and speaking on behalf of this event. I'm really excited to get out for May Day and be in coalition with all of you. So I just want to start. My name is Peter Cummings. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a fourth-year PhD student in the clinical psychology program at the medical school at Northwestern. I'm also the campus chief steward and a member of the executive board for our union, NUGW UE Local 1122. In my role as a grad worker in clinical psychology, I hold a research assistantship in a home lab, and I earn my necessary hours to qualify for licensure as a psychologist while doing a concurrent clinical externship every year. In my capacity as a clinician right now, I work at Northwestern's Pride Center and Gender Pathways program, where I provide individual and group level psychotherapy services for sexual and gender minority patients, and I conduct health evaluations culminating in letters of readiness for gender-affirming surgery and hormone access through those centers. I will start by briefly sharing my personal story as an organizer and graduate worker at Northwestern impacted by the chilling ripple effects of funding freezes and grant terminations. For the past 2 years, I've been working on an esteemed NIH fellowship to fund my dissertation. After my scores landed me in the top 5th percentile of all applicants nationwide, I was ecstatic at the news from my program officer that she was cautiously optimistic I would receive the funding award to support my dissertation. What has unfolded since then is all too common a story for PhD students in this country. My dear sweet advisor ultimately came to me and tenderly informed me that unfortunately she did not see this grant as a viable and trustworthy mechanism for conducting research on queer and trans people in this country anymore.
Shame!
And even just last week, when our university met with our union immediately following our own press conference like this last Thursday on the National Day of Action for Higher Education, they told us, yes, we will guarantee your 5 years of funding per your historic first union contract, which we settled over a year ago today. This is a win for our members. And yet, it is not far enough. These administrators were clear. Their offer of forthcoming bridge funding would exclude any terminated grant, but make funds available for other frozen grants, such as those from the Department of Defense, the Army, and the Department of Energy. So as you see, not only was my grant likely to be sent to the graveyard at NIH, because the Trump administration has already launched an all-out assault on the very right of trans, gender non-conforming, and gender non-binary folks' right to exist and receive life-saving care, but Northwestern in its own outright refusal to give material support to the excellent researchers affected by Trump's anti-trans agenda, Northwestern has tacitly endorsed the notion that research to protect trans and gender diverse people is not a worthwhile investment. At times, even as a positive psychologist, I am stuck in misery and despair. I see countless colleagues of mine in a near chronic state of terror and panic. I have held colleagues in tears after they've received abrupt termination notices that skirt due process, or have been fired after their faculty's grant was terminated. And yet, when I focus, I can feel it. Maybe folks here can too. There is a shift happening beneath our feet. Some of us have felt this coming for some time. Some of us may be completely stunned. Last week's report in the New York Times that nearly all federal funding at Northwestern would be frozen by the Trump administration, coupled with our president's admission there was no knowledge of this beforehand, was meant to do exactly what it intended to do: shock us into a state of freeze response. This fascistic Trump administration is hell-bent on sowing chaos and dismantling institutions of higher education and entire industries in this country, and its all-out assault on organized labor across every sector. And yet, just last week, at our press conference, in collaboration with dozens of faculty, bravely organizing under their moniker, University Under Threat, student organizations across campus, including the Northwestern University Postdocs Union, who are in the midst of their recognition campaign, shout out, and in coordination with the university's chapter of American Association for University Presidents, we spoke out and held our ground at the steps of Deering Library on campus. We presented our official campaign platform asking members to agree to take militant action in the defense of the following 4 pillars: preservation of STEM funding and research, protections for non-citizen workers, defense of trans rights and lives, and the fruition of a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workspace. We have circulated this petition within the last 2 weeks, and we are so proud to say that today we already have nearly 500 members pledging to sign on to act in a militant way to support those campaigns. Our common enemy here today, they thrive off of fear and nihilism, and we counter that with anger, urgency, and collective action. I looked at your coalition's demands here, and I love what I see. I see harmony and I see solidarity across our pillars. You state you are making a series of demands around each of the following. An injury to one is an injury to all. Full funding for the needs of the people, not unjust war, and full defense of free speech and workers' rights. Hell yes!
Yes!
At NUGW, our members have been hard at work rebuilding our organizing infrastructure in the face of a new, dangerous enemy. And we honor each of those 4 pillars in our platform and see the similarities in yours. We have formed working groups for each of our 4 campaign pillars. Our members voted to sign a non-citizens' rights letter directed directly towards the university president just last week, demanding that if an international worker loses status and is disappeared, the university will commit in writing to maintain that student's status, pay, and benefits, regardless of their visa status, and make good efforts to see that person get their degree that they fought for 5 to 7 years. Offer legal counsel to the grad student in question to represent their needs, and issue an official statement from Northwestern community clarifying that the grad student in question had been detained without criminal charge, no due process, and offering other relevant contextual information. We've also hosted Know Your Rights workshops for non-citizen workers with community organizations and developed shared resources for members of our community to protect themselves in the face of fascism. Our international workers, before they go to sleep, they check in on their students, they check in on their coworkers, they check on everyone in their support systems of non-citizens to make sure that they are here and not disappeared. And then they worry about themselves. They lose sleep. They fear signing our petition. They worry that speaking out on anything, let alone their views on the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people, for fear of the utmost retaliation by the government and the abandonment by their employer, Northwestern.
Shame.
You see, we chose those steps at the Deering Library for our press conference for a reason. Last year, students, faculty, and staff organized their own encampment on that very lawn in support of the Palestinian people. No one in this country should be terrified about their protected speech and their academic freedom. Being this degree of stressed and terrified at work is a labor issue.
Absolutely.
Because we will never stop fighting for those rights of non-citizen and citizen workers alike. And we will never stop fighting for the rights and lives of our trans, gender non-conforming, and gender non-binary comrades. We are better and stronger when we unify, which is why we are in lockstep with our postdoc comrades, you all here today, fighting for a union recognition and fighting for a series of demands from this community. We will be encouraging all of our members to attend the May 1st rally in downtown Chicago after we deliver our acknowledgement of our platform petition campaign directly to the university president. And we look forward to productive conversations and collective struggle that includes everyone here today and more in the community who want to build a coalition. Because in the fight against fascism in this country, we need all hands on deck.
That's right. Thank you.